I felt it was time to get paid for doing the same shit I'm already doing, you know?
Welcome back to the prize fighting business. I'm your host, Daniel Caycedo, and today I'm joined by the 3-0 Brent No Luck Williams, fighting out of Guerrilla MMA ahead of his fight March 21st at Fight for 27. Brent, thanks for joining me.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, Brent, you are coming off back-to-back wins to start your pro career. So just be clear, that's 3 first-round wins to start your pro career. So what does that feel like?
Man, it's crazy because, like, as an amateur, all my fights were kind of flip-flop. Like, I'd be hurt the first minute and then I'd somehow pull out a win, and then going from that, going to pro, which is a harder rule set, and then having 3 back-to-back fast finishes, you know, in under 2 minutes, and not really taking it. I took 1 punch in my first pro fight against Addison Hendry, but other than that, I've come up, you know, pretty unscathed. So it was kind of a shock to me for it to be that much of a easier flip.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, and actually, I should give you full credit. It's 4 first round finishes going back to amateur career. So despite you saying that maybe the amateur career was a little bit of a challenge, you actually finished the amateur career with the first round finish as well. So
this podcast is sponsored by King Arthur Capital Group. Fund your fight camp, showing fighters how to leverage credit and capital so they can treat their career like a business.
Next fight for you here, your 4th pro fight. Fight for a promotion. So the past few fights have been for the UGB, on the buy rounds, Ultra Battlegrounds way. And so now Fight for It, coming up here March 21st.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Your opponent here, J.R. Banks, making his pro debut. So what do you want out of this fight?
Really, I just want to make JR look like an idiot. I want to go out there and show that, you know, I don't think that he's absolutely ready to go into the pro ranks. I think he just eked out a decision win over Dylan Williams. You know, Dylan had a blown NCL in that fight. He still made it to the bell. The guy it's just such an unmanly way of fighting, the way that he fights, where he just holds on to you and just wants to make it to the end. I hate that style of fighting. I feel like I always look to finish the fight. I feel like that's what you should do if you're a fighter. And I look forward to just going out there and making him look stupid, make him trip in potholes, and then make him pay for it.
Love it. So set him up, make him pay. What is the ideal way for you to win this fight?
I want a knockout. I've been wanting a knockout for the past 2 fights, but it's like people get hit, and it's like, man, it's hard to put somebody down. People don't want to die. Like, people don't want to get finished, so they grab onto you. But I feel like my jiu-jitsu's there, so if he wants to go on the ground, I'll submit him, I'll choke him there, but I'd like a finish on the feet.
Yeah, you had a KO or a highlight reel KO set up that ended in a submission just because of the way it worked out. But I mean, you throw in the moves to get the KO finishes, the highlight reel finishes. So the 3-0 as a pro going to this 4th fight, what do you see as the next step after this fight?
I've been in talks about the Ultimate Fighter and stuff like that, but it was at 135, and I'm kind of on the burner about it. You know, we're talking about it with my managers and my coaches and stuff, but I feel like if I just keep going out there and just putting people away like I do, I feel like the Contender Series will be on the call pretty soon. I don't see myself being around the regional scene much longer. I feel like this would be one of my last few fights.
Interesting. Yeah. And so do you see yourself going to other regional circuits, like trying to get belts there? Or do you prefer to stay in the area, build your record, and then get your shot at an opportunity like the Contender Series? How do you view that?
You know, really, it's whatever comes up, you know? I've got Fight Labs coming back in May, and I have a fight scheduled against Jacob Romano for that. He's a 5-4 amateur 135er, and I think we're going to fight at 135. So it's a little bit of a step up in weight and step up in competition, but again, I think on paper it's a step up in competition, but in my head and in his head, we both know that I'm the better fighter and he's probably the B side. So
cool. Love it. Love the confidence. That'd be a cool opportunity for you.
Yeah, I'm excited to fight on. A bunch of my coaches have followed on it, and they have like all the pictures hung up and they have the big dog chain and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky to get more.
Great segue. So coming into this fight, who are your primary training partners and who's your coach?
Excellent Basan's one of my perfect candidates for this match. And, you know, she's scrappy on the ground. She has really good jiu-jitsu and she has big power in her hands. We train a lot together. You know, we went to Thailand together. We're in Thailand for 3 months. You know, she's got way better striking than JR, way better jiu-jitsu than JR. And the only thing that he probably has over is maybe strength. Definitely not brains, you know. So her, Aiden McLeod, you know, he's a big training partner for me. Brandon Davis, my head coach. Sean at Locust Muay Thai. Sebastian Clavado. Man, there's a ton. It's just, I feel like we have such a good group coming in here on Sundays, and there's no ego when you come in the door, so we always get working. Aaron Castro's coming in today. He's another pro fighter fighting on the same card. So there's not really just a select few. It's more of an abundance that I kind of like how this guy does this. Let's try it that way. This guy does it this way. I'll take some off that. So I'm not doing anything different. It's all the same thing. It's just a little bit more innovative. I feel like I can move my head a little bit less than this guy and get hit less than this guy. I can slip this way, I can slip that way, and I just pick a little thing off of everybody.
Yeah, so lots of different looks, a wide range of different training parties. You feel like that benefits you and what you do in cage. Yeah, cool. So who do you have in your corner, or who do you take in your corner in your fights?
So in this next corner, I'll have Brandon Davis as my head coach. I started training him when I was 17 or 18, and then left, came back, and we've kind of, built the 3-0, like the fast starts, and nitpicked the opponents and found something that would work in that first splash. Kevin Sidolak will be in there. He's also one of my head coaches from the beginning. And then this cab around, Sean for Locust Muay Thai will be in there. We've been working on sharpening up my striking, my angles, and really going to help walk him into dead space and then capitalize on that.
Neat. So you talked about potential opportunities being presented at 135 pounds. This fight, though, is going to be at 125 pounds at flyweight. Yeah, correct. Okay, so what is a normal weight cut process look like for you going down to 125?
It's not as bad as you would imagine. I walk around 145 pounds, and that's me eating pretty good. So I'm kind of tapering it down now, and I'm walking around maybe 140, 139. So I'll stop too much of my intake on that Thursday night for food wise, and after that, I'm sitting maybe 136 and a half. So it's about a 10 pound, 11 pound water cut.
Okay.
But it's never that bad, I water load. I do my 2 gallons on Sunday, 2 gallons on Monday, and then I taper it off half of whatever amount I have that day. 1 gallon, then half a gallon, then a quarter of a gallon. And then once I start that weight cut Thursday night, I don't touch water until the next day when I weigh in. I try to go to bed that Thursday night around 129, 128 and a half. Wake up maybe 127, and then I'll kind of kill myself to get that last pound off. But it's not that bad.
Do you work with any kind of nutritionist or anything, or is that where you've developed over time?
It's just, part of it is over time, but a lot of it is, again, Yaxie. We've been together for 4 years now. I think she's kind of helped my diet. Like prior to helping my diet, it was kind of like energy drinks and honey buns from the gas station, and like anything I could get, But she always cooks. She grew up in a household where people cook, so it's whole foods and stuff like that. So it's a little bit different, but that's helped me kind of grow as a man and really fill out, but also keep the weight down.
Yeah. So 3-0 as a pro, trying to stay in this region as far as finding your fights. Ideally, you don't have to travel, have to spend money doing that type of stuff. Who picks your fights, or who helps you pick your fights? Do you have a manager? Is it your coach? What does that process look like as far as selecting a fight?
So this is the first fight with a manager, and prior to it, we didn't really have I didn't give a fuck. I wanted the Baby Hulk fight just because he had fought Shamik Harvey. I wanted to fight Shamik Harvey, and that's a common opponent. So I was like, I'd like that one. But the other two, Addison Hendry, he kind of talked his shit and got the fight, and then I fought Juan Lopez. I didn't really want to fight him either, but it just got offered, and it was a good matchup. Grappler versus, I feel like I'm more of a complete fighter. I feel like my grappling's on the same tier as his, but have way better striking, way better cage control. But this time we didn't really have an opponent in mind. They had Shane Tyner, and then that was signed just because 5 other people said no. They offered me to Landon Fisher, and that's the Southeast guy. They had offered it to Shamik. They'd offered it to a couple of people, but nothing came to fruition. So we ended up going with Shane Tyner, and then he signed the contract, but the commission had an issue with it. Obviously, I'm not hating on the commission or anything. I don't think it was a very fair fight either. But I don't think this is going to be a very fair fight. So
you had to take what you get.
I take what I get. I don't care. This guy, his opponent pulled out, and I think the commission pulled his opponent out. So it's kind of like, yeah. Every time I try to take an easier fight, it never works out. It's like, it's not in my stars. I was signed to fight Alex Elliam, who's a 1-2, like he's like 5'3", and he's primarily a striker. So I was like, oh, this is like a perfect matchup. That fell through, and then I had to change completely to Baby Hulk, who's a 5-foot wrestler. So it's just a completely different camp. You know, I was getting ready for Shane Tyner, who's kind of like a throwback fighter. Like he's got an old Fortnite style. You know, he's a brawler. Yeah, he's got the, and so then we had to change up a little bit, dial some things back, maybe ramp up the wrestling conditioning just a little bit. But I think the scrambles are what's ultimately gonna kill him. I think he's gonna try to out scramble me, and I feel like my grappling's way higher than his. Where he might have an advantage in the wrestling, I think my grappling and back control, and just positional awareness is gonna put me on top in the grappling exchanges. And once he shoots 2 or 3 times and he can't get me down, or I get back up and I'm hitting him on the feet and talking to him, I think his confidence is going to zip, his conditioning is going to zip, and I'm going to land my shot.
Yeah. Do you watch any footage of your opponents before the fight?
Man, there's not really much I can watch. I mean, the guy does the same thing every time he fights. He comes forward, throws a 1-2, and looks at the ground and hopes for the best. So I think I'm going to catch him when he comes in. And yeah, I don't see it going past 1 round, really.
Cool. What is the toughest fight you've had in your career? You can include amateurs since pro's gone fairly well.
That's tough, man. I feel like I haven't. Well, okay, I fought a guy, Dylan Smith in Tennessee, and I don't remember my record. I think I believe I was 2-2. Yeah, I believe I was 2-2.
As an amateur.
Yeah, I believe I was 2-2 as an amateur, and I fought him in Tennessee for Valor Fighting Championship before it was. I don't know what it's called. I think it's Aries now. But it was their guy, and he was coming off of like 2 first-round rear naked chokes, and I was just coming off of the first-round rear naked choke loss. So it was kind of like they bring him here to lose. Yeah, I'm like looking around at the fucking, the warm-up room, and there's like a fucking curtain. There's like 3 crackheads. And then I look in his warm-up room, and there's like a pool table, 2 TVs, like a water fountain. I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely fucking B-side. But yeah, I came out, and he was super, he was a good wrestler, super strong, and he got me down twice. I got up on the feet, and I feel like I was picking him apart on the feet. And he ultimately he shot for a lead, like a single leg, and I ended up tossing up a triangle, and I finished it that way. But it was a tough fight. Like it was a fight where I got my back taken, and I had to think like, okay, you know, it's a fucking fight. Like this guy's punching you in the fucking head. You either get up, or you let him win. And we made the choice to get up, and that kind of started the incline.
Yeah. No adversity yet in the pro career, but a challenge here, fight for it coming up, so perhaps an opportunity to face some adversity. Yeah, maybe. So take us back to the beginning of your career. Then, how did you first get started with martial arts? When was the first time you walked in the gym?
Man, I was a little 16-year-old just skateboarding, and I thought I was a sponsored skateboarder at the time, and I thought, that's it, bro. I'm gonna be a professional skateboarder. But me and my friends would be skateboarding. We'd go to like a random gym, Family Sports and Fitness, in Stanfield, and we just beat the shit out of each other, and we just beat the heads off each other. And this guy named Dylan Cole that trained at Salvation at the time, the gym I ended up joining, he was like talking shit, and he was like, fuck you guys, fuck your gym, like this is what a real fighter is. And I was like, oh fuck, like I don't want to fight this fucking guy, bro. We're just doing this shit for fun. But he was texting me on Instagram, was like, come to my gym, I'll fuck you up. And I was like, fuck it, I'll go, I'll see what it's about. So I showed up, and we beat the shit out of each other, and then we're just best friends ever since. He trains with me now. That's how it works. Yeah, I don't know. You never would have thought. Like, even I was working at Hardee's. There used to be a Hardee's over here at the gas station. And like my friend Hunter, who was friends with Dylan, was asking me, like, bro, you ever gonna fight? Because I just started training. And I was like, I don't know, bro. I just don't really have a need to. I don't really give a fuck. And then like that night, my coach asked me, it's like, hey man, Marcelo asked me if you wanted to fight. And I was like, oh, sure. Fuck it. I'll do it. And then ever since then, I just got hooked onto it.
So after your first night, what does it feel like? How do you feel?
Dude, you feel literally like you're on top of the fucking world. You feel like the Mac. Like you feel insane. It's a feeling like you'll never recreate it.
So at that point, you'd been brawling, brawling with your friends. You get challenged to the gym, you go in there, you guys have fun, you become friends, and you parlay that into your first fight opportunity. You get hooked on it. So from that day on, are you saying like, I just want to go bite people? Or are you saying I want to go train like in these individual martial arts? Like, how did you start to develop your approach?
So my first fight was a kickboxing match, and I primarily only liked kickboxing. I didn't like jiu-jitsu. And I went out and fought a tough guy, Xavier Poole, and he was from Gym O, which is a good gym. And I ultimately ended up joining that gym for like 2 or 3 years. But I fought and had a hard decision win against him. And then after that, was like, man, this is, I'm pretty fucking good at this. I might as well stick to it. I didn't have really fuck all going on, so what else is it going to hurt to go to the gym at night? So just kept training, and then ultimately I ended up wanting to do MMA, but my coach was like, we don't train jiu-jitsu. So started training jiu-jitsu, started falling in love with gi jiu-jitsu, fell out of love with kickboxing, dove down that rabbit hole, and then I ended up taking an MMA fight, and it just kind of spiraled, just one thing after another.
It spiraled into a two-time Fight for amateur champion, and now I think you made your pro debut for them too?
Yeah.
So now coming back around for your fourth pro fight, how do you feel about fighting for Fight for it as a promotion?
Man, Fight for It is probably the best promotion in North Carolina. I mean, the way they cinematize everything, the walkouts, the music, the lights. And when it's at the Grady Cole Center, nobody touches it. Fight Lab's coming back, so maybe that'll give them some competition, but right now I think Fight for It's the best. You got Osvaldo and Dylan Williams fighting, that's a banger. There's so many of these banger fights that other promotions just don't have. There's an obvious A side and B side, whereas both of these are two really good fighters about to fight. So it's a much better show.
Definitely high-level matchups that get you ready for the next level, arguably. So how did you decide? You were a two-time Fight for amateur champion, but you could also argue, well, that's your regional promotion, right? I haven't been exposed to that. So how do you know that it's time to go pro? How did you decide?
Man, there was not really a thought process into it. It was just kind of I keep beating these guys that are supposed to be tough challenges, and I keep doing it. Almost every one of my fights in amateur MMA was a first round finish. I only went to the decision one time, and if I didn't go to the decision, I was either winning or losing. So I racked up, so that would be 6 first round finishes. One decision win against Butterfly, which was a tough fight, and I knew that fight was going to be hard. People don't give him credit for his record. His record doesn't showcase his skill level, and I felt it was time to get paid for doing the same shit I'm already doing, know. And Marcelo offered me Addison Hendry and said he was kind of talking, and I to be honest, I didn't want to take the fight because I wanted to fight at 125. When I fought at 135 in my amateur career for North Carolina, there's same day weigh-ins, so I was only cutting 4 pounds, 5 pounds to get to 135. I knew I was a 125er. He's a big guy, and I was like, I don't like this matchup, but I took it anyways, and it paid off. So.
Yeah, the rest is history. 3-0 going into this Fight for It March 21st. Looking for 4-0 against the debuting J.R. Banks. So what, assuming this fight goes well, what's the next steps, and then what would you say your overall MMA dreams are? What are you looking to ultimately achieve out of your MMA career?
So ultimately, if I get another first round, if I finish them in the way I'm thinking I am, I think the Contender Series could call. I think it'll be a flashy knockout, and I think it could be quick. But if not, then we just keep nose to the ground. So, Jacob Romano's in the May 11th card for Fight Lab. We go and beat him up. Maybe get a finish. Maybe early first, late second. It doesn't really matter. But keep putting these guys away, and just it'll call. I feel like I have. If you've ever seen what is the name of that movie? I can't. Doctor Sleep. These kids that have this shine, and it's very much true, man. I think everybody has something they were meant to do, and they have this shine. And it just takes, you believing in yourself and putting it out there for it to come true. And I feel like I believe so much in myself that anything I think I can achieve, I can. And I look forward to the next fight.
Yeah, I love it. So yeah, next fight, country 4-0, and then another opportunity with Fight Lab, country 5-0, and then knocking at the door of the UFC opportunity, especially with all those first round finishes. That's generous.
Hard out to.
Yeah, it's what you see. So I love that. So then, does that separate? Is that different from your goal in martial arts? What do you envision for martial arts long term for you?
Man, I see the 125 division in UFC, and I don't think they're that good. I think there's maybe 4 or 5 really good guys, like Joshua Ban, Pantoja, but they're all big names, and they're only in that top 5. Other than that, I don't really see myself having much of an issue fighting these guys. So ultimately, I'd love to become UFC 125-pound champion, maybe get a little bit older, bulk up a little bit, and then challenge at the 135. And I want to make a shit ton of money and then get out. That's all I want. I don't give a fuck about nothing else. To be honest, I don't even give a fuck about the belt. I want the checks, and then I want to just chill.
The prize fighting business.
Prize fighting. I don't give a fuck about. It's not for legacy. It's not for anything. If anybody tells you it's for legacy, they're lying to you. They don't want the money. Every contract, they don't negotiate your contract, your legacy. Oh, well, we're going to tell these people this. It's all money. So at the end of the day, I want the money. You know, the fame will come with it, but that's not my end goal. So
Love prize fighter through and through. So how can people support your career? How can they follow you online? And how can they support you this upcoming fight, March 21st at Pipework?
So if you have a sponsor inquiry, you can put it in my Instagram DM, Brent Williams MMA. But yeah, I mean, really, there's not much you can do at this point. I have a pretty good bit of sponsors, and I think we're right there. We're knocking on the door. We're just waiting on the key to be turned and open. If you want to buy tickets for the next fight, March 21st, you can use the code NOLUCK. I think you get like $10 off. So everybody like to save money. So
Absolutely.
hell yeah.
Awesome. Dude, well, best of skills to you, and thank you very much. Thanks you.
This podcast is sponsored by King Arthur Capital Group. Fund your fight camp, showing fighters how to leverage credit and capital so they can treat their career like a business.